The Mateta penalty chaos. What really happened and why everyone is confused. Welcome to United News, where we bring you the truth about what happens on and off the pitch. Sunday's match between Crystal Palace and Manchester United at Selhurst Park was overshadowed by one of the most bizarre penalty incidents of the entire season. If you watched it live and felt confused, you were not alone. Let us break down exactly what happened, why it happened, and what the new rules actually mean. How it all started. The Leny Yoro foul. The drama began when Crystal Palace striker Jean-Philippe Mateta went down in the penalty box after contact with Manchester United defender Leny Yoro. The referee initially waved play on, but VAR got involved to review the incident. After checking the replays, VAR recommended that a penalty should be awarded. The referee went to the monitor, watched the incident again, and agreed. Penalty to Crystal Palace. This decision immediately frustrated Manchester United fans. The contact looked soft. Yoro barely touched Mateta. Many supporters felt this was never a penalty and that VAR was being too harsh on the young defender. But whether you agree with the penalty decision or not, that was just the beginning of the chaos. What happened next turned a controversial moment into absolute madness. The first penalty attempt. The double touch nobody spotted. Jean-Philippe Mateta stepped up to take the penalty. As he approached the ball, he slipped slightly. This caused him to make contact with the ball twice. First, his plant foot touched the ball. Then, his striking foot hit it properly. The ball went into the net. Crystal Palace players celebrated. The Selhurst Park crowd erupted. For a moment, it looked like Palace had scored. But Manchester United players immediately protested. They had seen the double touch. The replays showed it clearly. Mateta's plant foot had definitely made contact with the ball before his proper strike. Under the laws of football, you cannot touch the ball twice when taking a penalty. If you do, the goal should not stand. But here is where it gets interesting and confusing. In previous seasons, if a player accidentally double-touched a penalty, the other team would be awarded an indirect free kick. This was the rule for many years and everyone understood it. But the rules changed earlier this year. Now, if a player accidentally double-touches a penalty, the penalty is retaken rather than turning into an indirect free kick for the defending team. This rule change is brand new. In fact, this incident at Selhurst Park was the first time it has been implemented in the Premier League. Nobody had seen it before in English top-flight football. Why the rules changed? Let us take a moment to explain why this rule change happened, because it helps us understand what occurred at Selhurst Park. The rule was changed after a high-profile incident in the Champions League. Former Manchester City forward Julian Alvarez, now playing for Atletico Madrid, had a penalty goal disallowed against Real Madrid because of an accidental double touch. Under the old rules, Real Madrid were given an indirect free kick. Many people felt this was too harsh. Alvarez did not intentionally touch the ball twice. It was an accident caused by slipping or losing his footing. Punishing a team with a loss of possession for an accidental slip seemed unfair. So the rules were changed. Now, if a player accidentally double touches the ball when taking a penalty, the penalty is simply retaken. The attacking team gets another chance. The defending team does not benefit from what was essentially bad luck rather than cheating. This new rule was also seen at the Women's Euro 2025 final. England's Beth Mead was forced to retake her penalty in a shootout after a double touch. Her second attempt was saved, but the point is that the new rule was applied. So when Mateta double touched his penalty at Selhurst Park, the officials applied the new rule. The penalty had to be retaken. The confusion. Why did it take so long? Here is where things got messy. The officials did spot the double touch eventually, but it took way too long. United players were protesting immediately. The replays were clear, but the officials seemed uncertain about what to do. There was confusion on the pitch. Players from both teams were arguing with the referee. The crowd did not understand what was happening. Even the commentators seemed unsure about the rules. Eventually, referee Rob Jones made an announcement. He said, "After review, Crystal Palace 14 touches the ball twice and the ball goes into the net. It's going to be a retaken penalty. This was the correct decision based on the new rules." But because the new rule is so recent and this was its first Premier League application, nobody was quite sure if the referee was making the right call. Ally McCoist, commentating on TNT Sport, said, "As you can expect, it was a mixed reaction from the supporters, home and away. This perfectly captured the mood. Everyone was confused and frustrated. The second attempt, more controversy. So Mateta stepped up again to retake the penalty. But before he could take it properly, there were more issues. Players from both teams were encroaching into the penalty area before the ball was kicked. Encroachment means players entering the box before the penalty taker strikes the ball. This is against the rules. If it happens and affects the play, the penalty can be retaken. The referee spotted the encroachment and ordered another retake. Now we were up to 3 penalty attempts for the same incident. The whole situation was becoming ridiculous. Some reports suggest there might have even been discussions about a third retake due to more encroachment, though ultimately Mateta was allowed to take his third attempt and finally scored cleanly. The entire incident took several minutes. The rhythm of the match was completely destroyed. Players were frustrated. Fans were confused. And the officials looked like they were making it up as they went along. Why everyone was angry. Let us break down why different groups of people were furious about this incident. Manchester United fans were angry because, first, they thought the original penalty decision was soft. Lenny Yoro barely touched Mateta, and giving a penalty for that kind of minimal contact felt harsh. Second, they felt the double touch should have resulted in United getting the ball back with an indirect free kick. Many fans did not know about the rule change, so they thought the officials got it wrong. Third, the repeated retakes felt excessive and inconsistent. In previous matches this season, similar encroachment situations were not policed so strictly. Crystal Palace fans were angry because they felt VAR was over-policing every tiny detail. The encroachment was minimal and did not really affect the penalty kick. Why force multiple retakes for something so minor? The long delay killed all momentum. Palace had just scored, and that excitement was completely drained by several minutes of arguing and confusion. Neutral observers and pundits were angry because the whole incident was embarrassing for the Premier League. Once again, VAR and the officials created confusion rather than clarity. The rules are becoming so complicated that even professional commentators and analysts struggle to understand what is happening. The referees seemed unprepared for applying this new rule, even though they should have been briefed about it before the season started. What the Premier League said. After the match, the Premier League confirmed via their Match Center X account that a VAR review recommended the original penalty goal be overturned with a retake taking place. This was the official explanation. The double touch was spotted on review, the new rule was applied, and the penalty was correctly retaken. But this explanation did not satisfy many people. Yes, the officials followed the rules, but the process was messy, confusing, and took way too long. Even if you understand the rules, the execution was poor. The bigger problems this reveals. This incident highlights several ongoing problems with VAR and refereeing in the Premier League. Problem 1. Rule changes are not communicated clearly. Most fans had no idea about the new double-touch rule. Even some commentators seemed uncertain. If the Premier League changes important rules, they need to do a better job of explaining those changes to everyone. Problem 2. VAR creates as much confusion as clarity. The whole point of VAR was to reduce controversial decisions. But time and again, VAR creates situations that leave everyone more confused than before. Problem 3. Consistency is missing. Why are some incidents reviewed for minutes while others get barely a glance? Why is encroachment strictly enforced in some matches but ignored in others? The lack of consistency is frustrating for everyone. Problem 4. The human element is being lost. Football used to flow. Now we have regular stoppages for reviews, long delays, and players standing around waiting for decisions. It is killing the natural rhythm of matches. How other leagues handle it. It is worth noting that other major leagues deal with penalties and VAR differently. Some leagues are more lenient about encroachment. Some review incidents more quickly. Some give referees more authority to make final decisions without lengthy reviews. The Premier League prides itself on being the best league in the world, but incidents like this make it look amateurish. If other leagues can implement VAR more smoothly, why cannot the Premier League? What should change? Based on this incident, here are some changes that could improve the situation. Better communication. When rules change, the Premier League needs to educate fans, commentators, and everyone involved. Use social media, TV broadcasts, and stadium announcements to explain new rules before they cause confusion. Faster decisions. The double touch was obvious on the replays. There is no reason it should take several minutes to make that decision. Speed up the VAR process so it does not destroy the flow of matches. Clear standards for encroachment. Either police it strictly every time, or allow minor encroachment that does not affect play. Pick one approach and stick to it consistently across all matches. Trust referees more. Not every tiny incident needs a VAR review. Let referees make decisions and only intervene for clear and obvious errors. The constant reviewing of marginal calls is making things worse, not better. What it meant for the match. Beyond all the controversy, let us not forget what this meant for the actual match. Crystal Palace scored through Mateta's retaken penalty and took a 1-0 lead against Manchester United. For Palace, getting that goal was crucial. They were the home team and needed the points. The penalty drama was frustrating, but ultimately they got the result they needed from the spot. For Manchester United, conceding a penalty like that was disappointing. Whether you think it was soft or not, Leny Yoro put himself in a position where the referee could give a penalty. Young defenders need to learn from these situations. The incident also disrupted United's rhythm. They were settling into the match, and then had to stand around for several minutes while the penalty situation was sorted out. That kind of disruption makes it harder to maintain focus and momentum. The social media reaction. As you can imagine, social media exploded during and after this incident. Fans from all clubs had strong opinions about what happened. United fans called it a joke, a disgrace, and demanded to know why VAR exists if it creates this much chaos. Many posted clips of the minimal contact and argued the penalty should never have been given. Palace fans defended the penalty decision but agreed the multiple retakes were ridiculous. Some joked about it being the longest penalty in Premier League history. Neutral fans mostly expressed confusion and frustration with the whole officiating setup. Many asked why football cannot get these situations right when other sports handle video review much more smoothly. Pundits and former players called it embarrassing, messy, and another PGMOL disaster moment. PGMOL is the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, the organization responsible for referees in English football. They are under increasing pressure to improve their performance. Looking forward, this incident will not be forgotten quickly. It will be used as an example of everything wrong with VAR and modern officiating for weeks and months to come. The question is whether anything will actually change. Will PGMOL learn from this and improve their processes? Will the Premier League do a better job of explaining rule changes? Will referees be better prepared for unusual situations? Based on past experience, probably not much will change. We will have another controversial incident in a few weeks, everyone will complain again, and the cycle will continue. But maybe, just maybe, this incident was so messy and confusing that it forces some real reflection and improvement. We can only hope. What United fans should take away. If you are a Manchester United supporter, here is what you should focus on from this incident. Yes, the penalty decision was soft. Yes, the whole situation was handled poorly. Yes, you have a right to be frustrated. But United still had the rest of the match to respond. Good teams overcome bad refereeing decisions. Great teams use adversity as motivation. Also, Leny Yoro needs to learn from this. He is a young defender still adapting to the Premier League. In this league, referees give penalties for minimal contact. Yoro needs to be smarter about when and how he challenges attackers in the box. The officials made mistakes, but United cannot use that as an excuse. They need to be good enough to win even when decisions go against them. Final thoughts from United News. The Jean-Philippe Mateta penalty saga at Selhurst Park was one of the most confusing and poorly handled incidents of the Premier League season. The combination of a soft initial penalty decision, A missed double touch, multiple retakes, and general confusion created several minutes of absolute chaos. The officials eventually got to the correct decision based on the new rules. But the process was messy, slow, and left everyone frustrated regardless of which team they support. This incident highlights ongoing problems with VAR, officiating, and how rule changes are communicated. Until these issues are addressed, we will keep seeing controversial moments that overshadow the actual football. Here at Unite United News, we give you the honest truth about what happens in Manchester United matches. Sometimes that means explaining confusing situations like this one. Sometimes it means criticizing the officials when they deserve criticism. And always it means putting United fans first. Thank you for trusting us to guide you through incidents like this. We know it was confusing. We hope this explanation helped you understand what actually happened and why everyone was so angry about it. Stay with Unite United News for all your Manchester United coverage. We are here to make sense of the chaos and keep you informed about everything that matters. Come on, United!